What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and this is another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest for the second time, Anthony Stokes. We're not here to talk about Decay because Decay is over in issue 3. We are here to talk about Intrusive Thoughts. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Love these kind of conversations, man. I'm glad we can do it again.
No, absolutely. Look, and being it's the first day of Black History Month, I'm glad that we got the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, of course, staying within this realm of horror, as you've done a revenge thriller, of course, with Decay, and now with the psychological thriller that you base psychological horror, if you want to say, with Intrusive Thoughts. What would you say was the perception going forth in creating this type of story?
I just wanted to do. I wrote Decay in 2021, right? And it was my first comic book, and I didn't know what I was doing. Right, it's my first comic book, and I'm a boisterous voice in the space, and people will like judge me off my first comic book, and it was really frustrating. So I just want to do everything better. I want it to be a timestamp of what I learned from that first comic to now the second. This would be I think I made this around the same time as Decay issue 3. So this would be my third issue, I believe, that I'd done. And I wanted to show the progress as well, just step everything up.
Right. And even in that instance, we're coming to look at this story that you basically created, and it seems a lot more personal than Decay was. Now, if you could speak to that, is there anything that you pretty much have put more of yourself into in Intrusive Thoughts? Is this a lot more personal? Is there a lot more truth to this tale as it was to Decay?
No, not really. I just thought of the scenario when I wrote it. I can empathize. Well, I can empathize with both of it. I wrote during the pandemic. I wrote this. So Decay, excuse me. So it was very angry. We were dealing. It was a scary time. We're angry. I'm sure some of us unfortunately lost some loved ones. So that's where my head state was at for that. And in this one, it was just about, I guess, just general dealing with anxiety, depression, and loneliness and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's more personal. I think it's more about that, right? Like this is, Decay had 2 main characters. So essentially, so this has one. So it's just so much easier to dive into it and kind of get into it, especially with him being alone. You spend all the time with this main character as opposed to Decay, where it was kind of, well, it was 50-50 with Jess and DK.
Yeah, because I more so think of the way that the story is built up. You're basically talking to a demographic of people, a lot of introverts who basically have had the issues of being bullied in high school, have had deals with abandonment, have deals with night terrors, and talking about sleep paralysis as something as a construct of how this paralysis demon is more so coming about, but it's more so a physical manifestation of a sleep paralysis demon that we more so would not see unless we looked at maybe a anime like demon, like Death Note, like Ryuk.
It's so funny. You said a lot. So I did get bullied in high school, which caused a lot of my disposition, going forward. It was rough. It was rough. So now as an adult, I'm like, I'm not taking that shit. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
that was a part of it. And then you said the abandonment as well. I do deal with that as well. So now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, there's definitely something I might have left on the table. And then no, what's funny is I think I got this idea. I got the vaguest of this idea in high school, funny enough, of like the idea of a demon or just a scary thing representing depression. And just I had this idea of this thing getting closer and closer to this main character, almost like it follows as well. Like it just it's the same space relatively to him, and it was inspired by Death Note, I'm pretty sure. So it's funny you said that. So this is definitely inspired by Death Note. Yeah,
because
I'm thinking about it,
and not to expose the cliffhanger, but like almost like the second to last page, it's like a breaking of the glass in case of emergency moment. To where it's like, of course, he's experienced bullying at its biggest form. You could see that basically upon his first incident with being bullied, that regardless, people know him and they know to pick on him.
Yeah.
And when he's finally in a, I guess, in a state of conflict for the last time, you see this page, this panel where it showcases his his head breaking free, almost like the glass is breaking free. And the only way to actually fight against the constriction of basically what's happening in that moment is to release the demon.
Yeah, this is definitely metaphor. It's definitely metaphor. And what the beautiful thing about this, and kind of my thing I was going for really was decay was very literal, right? Everything that happens at
Yeah.
decay is literally happening. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of metaphors. You know, there's very few metaphors, I should say. But I wanted this to be very metaphorical. I wanted this to be very atmospheric, almost like a Sandman, you know what I'm saying, like a Watchman.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I that's how I came with the idea of the snow globe being a metaphor, not unlike the necklace and the voodoo doll were for decay, but just getting it more involved in the story, you know, as well.
Yeah, and one of the main factors that you do point out in this story is perception. Of course,
Yeah.
he's going through therapy, and of course, you go through the classic. What does this glass look like? Half full, half empty, and yet he's asked to look at the perception of and the young man. What's his name? I'm sorry,
Tyler.
Tyler. Tyler is
Mm-hmm.
basically analyzing to the therapist. You know, it's all about perception. It's not basically what I'm looking at, which is the glass half empty, half full. It's
Yeah.
whatever I perceive it to be. So, what is your analyzation of perception throughout this entire story?
Well, I think the point was that he was saying, like, look, it doesn't matter. Like, I think, what do you say? Like, the glass half full is optimistic, the glass half full is I mess. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
You can look at like a nihilist being like, it's just half, right? Like, it doesn't matter what I perceive. That's what it is. Like, quite literally, it's
Yeah.
half. Like, it doesn't matter, right? So
What
that's what
answer
his
I give is going to be the correct answer.
He's like, well, it's just like he's like my life sucks, you know. Like it's not a
Mhm.
perception thing. My life is objectively bad, and that's kind of the point. And it does come back to play in a way. I'm very excited about that. We won't. I can't reveal. Well, we won't see for like another 5 issues, and that's the cool. Well, so both of my series are in their infancy. You know, like Decay just dropped issue 3, so we're over the hump. This is
Mhm.
gonna be 6 issues. So what's really exciting, it's also, but goes back to like the reception for the K, where it's like, oh my God, y'all just don't know how good I am. Like I'm just setting things up and it's gonna pay
Mhm.
off. It's like the payoff is gonna be crazy. And it's gonna be the same with this moment. I also appreciate like how much you're like, I can tell you read, because you know, I do some interviews sometimes where it's like, yeah, I can tell you didn't read this shit, but like I
Right,
can tell
right,
you
right.
really I can tell you really read that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. And also on the latter end, when you're looking at Tyler's his personality, like you could tell
Mm-hmm.
within this storyline. Of course, he's at this moment within the first issue, he's reaching a breaking point. But also, you can tell more so in the instance of how this series is going to progress, that there's a positivity angle that's going to basically perceive in this and how he's going to structure his mind personality wise going forward. So there is a love aspect to this.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking, man, did you read my scripts leak or something?
Ah man, look,
um,
I can dive deep.
no, yeah, absolutely. So it is about mental health. So you know, spoiler alert. You know, you would hope that would end well. You know, like your fingers crossed. So no, I'm so much into the character aspect. I love every aspect of writing, but to me, like I want the characters to really change and get into the psychology of the characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at great media, that's what they do. It's not just like, oh, this character has a motivation, it's not going to they're going to do this. It's like we're going to get into the psychology of this character, what makes them tick, why they see all this stuff, and that's really what I enjoy, in the way to get some of that stuff across, like talking to a therapist, you know, looking at the glass half full, half empty as well. Like that's the kind of stuff that you can really that can really like tell you a lot about the character, you know.
Mhm. Now, in terms of the sleep paralysis demon, is his notion in his mind to tame it, or is it to obliterate it?
You have to keep reading for that one, bro.
See,
Yeah, keep reading for that one.
that's fine. That's fine. But is the sleep paralysis demon more of a case of torment more than anything, or is it just basically a portion of his psyche that he does not know that is coming out?
I feel like you tried to reframe the same question.
Eh,
I
yeah, I
feel like you
did.
tried to look.
I absolutely did. See that?
Man, and listen, this means you are engaged with the story, and I appreciate that. Listen, the thing is though, the nature of what the demon is like such a huge part of the story going forward. I don't really don't want to say anything. I will say this. Um, this series, I just came off of reading Chainsaw Man and
Mhm.
Fire Punch and
Yeah.
Goodbye Eerie as well by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who I think is a brilliant writer. And I love when I watch that. I watch a black comedy. I watch a movie like Banshees of Inisherin, and I just can't tell where the story's going. I just love that. Like I that's the media I like, and I was like, nobody's gonna be able to tell. My goal was to have this my goal was to have this start to finish. You will have no idea where the story's heading, but
Okay.
also you'll see the through line of like how we got here. You know what I'm saying? So keep guessing. keep,
Okay. Got you.
keep
And
guessing.
I love Banshees and Instrument, by the way.
It's an
Um,
amazing movie. That
and
real quick, that is the kind of movie I want to make. Like it's not fair, but I asked my friend, I was like, "Do you think I can write something this good?" Like, and they were like, "Yeah, this is kind of stuff you like." So yeah,
right.
that dude's really good.
Because the construct of that movie is basically defined within the first 5 minutes. And then also
Yeah.
within that 5 minutes, you realize that you know nothing.
Exactly. It's so and it's so simple too as well. And with these simple premises, you can just hang so much. You can just hang so much on it. Like I'm thinking of it like a clothesline. Because it's like you can do anything when it's something so simple. You look at a lot of mangas like this as well. It's like an idea. It's like an idea where you're like, this sounds so stupid, but then it's just so unique. They can just do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's a limitless potential essentially.
Yep,
But
you're finding the easiest ending point, and you can branch out as much as you like to, because there is defining points to anything that you talk about.
yeah, no,
So,
yeah. Shout out.
okay, I'll ask you a catching point. Is there going to be a okay? We know that Tyler is in foster care. Do we know, of course, of his backstory and basically what brought him to this point? Because we also understand that aside from where is at in high school, his family, of course, is a tipping point as to who he is as a person.
Yeah, no. So again, that's kind of the mystery of what happened is what I I need to lean into that more. Like what happened to his parents? Like I'm thinking about the promotion angle. Like I'm just thinking about that. That is also part of the mystery as well. And yeah, he has foster parents. He has this. He lives in this great house. He aesthetically, he's kind of gotten what you think he would want, but it's hollow because his foster parents kind of just get the paycheck and leave him. And
Yeah.
then he's in he's in high school, right? So he's about to graduate. So even this scenario that still kind of sucks could end very soon. And as we know, you basically need you need a family structure when you turn to an adult in this country. Unfortunately, I mean, like the way things are structured, way student loans are structured, they won't even give you a damn. I couldn't even get student loans until I was 25, and at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna do something else. I'm supposed to just like be a bum for 7 years. So
Right.
we understand that like that's kind of the inciting incident as well. Like he's always had these issues, but getting ready for college is what kind of is that's the extra bit of stress for him
Mhm. Now,
that tips him over.
now, do you feel as though of these social economical process of high school teens when they're about to approach adulthood or about to enter college, when basically built within the storyline, as far as they're at not only the adolescence, but where they are at economically and where they're going to basically subject themselves when they do enter adulthood. Does that take place in this, and how the story of basically just Tyler is constructed.
Yeah, because like if this story happened in like the late 80s, right, early 90s, it's not as bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just an adult at that point. College is way cheaper, whatever. Now in the late 20, let's say it takes place now, current day. Like I said, if you're going to college, you need your family support. Like they
Mm-hmm.
they they will take your family's income. For those who don't know, for instance, my family made too much money. Well, they made an amount of money where I wouldn't get student loans. I got accepted to a university, and they gave me community college money. I couldn't do it until I was 25. They use your parents' income till you're 25. We understand that there's like kind of a slide down to where jobs that like fast food and stuff that are designed, you think a teenager or young adult could work are now being worked by like middle-aged people because
Yeah.
of circumstances. So I mean, I maybe should have leaned into that more, but essentially like it's just incredibly hard being like a young adult in this country, and that's what he's looking at. And he's a smart guy. This is 10 years later after I graduated. So it's even going to be even more conversations. Like I think I was in middle school. My mom told me you're not going to be able to afford to go to college. Like she told me like I said, middle school,
Yeah.
which is probably damn near 15 years ago. So you can only appreciate how much more that's true now.
Yeah, and I can honestly piggyback off that moment because me being a kid who graduated high school in the 90s was
Yeah.
basically perceived to basically have uh this sort of piggy bank waiting for me once I got out of high school, that I thought I was going to be able to go to college, but then yet I had to go to community college because of, unfortunately, that money never existed. And
Yeah.
then of course when I got to community college, it was like, okay, I can't necessarily go to a 4-year school, so I joined the military for 4 years. So that was my
Okay.
way of paying my way through college. So in hindsight, it was like, okay, I had to maneuver my way through like certain spots hopscotch wise in order for me to get an education,
Yeah.
which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I almost did the military thing too. Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. So he's stressed out for a very good reason.
Oh yeah, I can totally get that. So to continue on, when we're talking about basically the state of indie comic book creators and where they're at, there's a lot of subjective influence that basically a lot of indie creators have and at their
Mm-hmm.
disposal. You of course have had the opportunity to of course be on social media, pumping out your projects, marketing your projects as much as possible, and of course being able to delve your entire storylines, whether it be decay or intrusive thoughts or anything that of that matter. Beings how I know you fastened yourself as of course being new to the game. How would
Yeah,
you say how would you say the indie comic community has received you in the past 2 years?
man. But well, it's been probably about honestly what January. It's really been a year. Truthfully, it's really been a year, and uh, it really depends. It's a complicated answer. If you appreciate genuinity,
Mm-hmm.
then you fuck with me. If you don't, like the indie comic scene is like you have to be fake nice. You have to be fake nice, fake humble. It's a lot of like being performative.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll dabble in that. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, hey man, everybody have a good day. I mean, I want everybody to have a good day, but like that's not my first thought, right? Like you're trying to project positivity, and that's 100% fine. I think that's what's up. But it's when you are directly interacting with other people, that's when I can't do the fake thing. And I had I had a poll. I said,
Mm-hmm.
what's better, somebody being a genuine asshole or being fake? Or I said somebody being arrogant or being fake
Confident.
humble. And
Oh, okay.
I said arrogant because I wanted to push it. I wanted to make people, and half the people couldn't answer. They didn't answer. They said, how about real humble or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. So a lot of people said fake humble. Like I'm like, yo, y'all are really exposing yourselves. And then you get You get one of these fake humble people and you push them in a spot they don't like, they'll get real nasty real quick, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I think honestly, I came into this space in January, and oh, so yeah, it's been a year and some change. I came into this space in January, and I just saw the landscape of it, and I said we can just do better. We can make a community that is supportive and constructive, right?
Hmm.
Where we're getting better, and we can be honest with each other. We can have tough conversations you don't have to engage with, by the way. You can just keep on scrolling. And so at first, I was looked at as a guy that was just being loud, or just being just new, just being kind of a control like an asshole. And I got flamed the fuck up in November during my campaign, bro. Like November, I um I made this post that was like, marketing is a conflict making skill, true or false. Did you see this post?
I did.
It blew up, man. And I got ratioed to hell, man. They cooked me, and I mean, it just evolved into this. No, and it's just like, bro, and then the argue, it just turned into like the semantics game where people don't want to confront the fact that if you want somebody to see your comic, you care about this stuff, but they treat it like a bad word. And then now, I bet if I made that post, people, it would be much more received. People will understand. So the community has received me. It's been hit or miss, but I think now people are either not engaging anymore, which is fine because I
Hmm.
don't want to talk to you if you can't handle genuinity,
Right.
or they're kind of understanding. Like you need it. Like being a disruptor is how I kind of phrase it, and I mean, if done in good faith, I think that's a good thing.
Do you feel as though them being polite is a force field for their honesty, like being brutally honest?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't understand now.
No, no. Do you feel as though like their politeness, there's being overly polite, or better yet, as you
Yeah.
call it, fake humble? Is it a force field for them to be brutally honest in how they're perceiving either your work or how they want to talk about their own work?
Yeah, I think everybody's just scared. I think everybody's just scared of ruffling feathers, right? And I've
Mhm.
never cared about that. I told you I got bullied at school. I've been like, people aren't going to like you. People are not going to like you. I've never understood the mentality of I'm going to make everybody like me. It's not going to work. People are just not going to like you. People have not liked me my entire life. I was like, I'm going to give you a reason at least now. Like,
Mhm.
um, I want people to, like, I was talking about that. I want people to either love me or hate me. Like this middle in between, I don't want to be like a lightly liked kind of guy. That guy's all right. Like I want, like, that guy's an asshole. That guy's great.
Mhm.
So yeah, ruffling feathers has never bothered me. Nobody in comics can beat me up. So yeah, I'm doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like the motherfuckers ain't beating me up. So who cares really?
Right, right. And as far as like the genres in which you put forward, both of your titles have of course been more so constructed around the genre of either thriller or horror.
Yes,
You're doing something more so out of the norm than a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are still doing superhero comics, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong
absolutely
with that.
fine.
There's
Absolutely
nothing
fine.
wrong with that. But to actually tell stories in your comic book making, because it's more so of an attribute to you as a writer, and for you because you come from a screenwriting background more than a comic book writing background. Do you feel
Yes.
like is more so like you have a one up as far as like your writing process as to somebody who is creating this fictional character and this power set that can somewise be comical in a sense, where you're more so taking your art. I'm not going to say that they're not taking their art seriously, but the thing is, what you're
Yeah.
creating is more so perceived as real life.
I think writing a screenplay is harder than writing a comic book. Like you just look at it. Like if you look at a great movie, like we said, Banshees of Inisherin, which is an amazing movie. If you look like like the Human Target, right? That's a great comic book series. The
Mm-hmm.
writing is not. It's not in the same stratosphere. It's infinitely harder to write a screenplay than a comic book. So I do feel like I have the edge there. Also, I focus a lot on dialogue. I focus on writing dialogue for like the last 10 years. Like it's been an obsession with me, um like for ever since I watched Superbad and Glorious Bastards. I think we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like since I seen that, I really started to understand. I've been obsessed with it, so I think I have a leg up there as well. And you know, it's look, people can make whatever they want, like right, like a super, but making a superhero thing, making a thing that has like all the stuff. It doesn't like let's just say there are different things. Like there's like the NSFW comics, which are cool. You know, you have like the
right?
kid comics. There's all kinds of different little pockets that the comics can fit in. I've been not intentionally avoiding that, but I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between all. It's not like gratuitous horror. It's not, it's falling in the middle, and it makes it hard to sell. And sometimes, I wish I could. I wish I could come with a superhero idea that I really liked, to make it easy to sell. But no, I do pride myself on having the success I've had whilst not operating in a specific genre, not having the trademarks of a comic you would deem successful.
Right. Do you feel as though the dialogue and like the complexity of basically writing a comic, because you don't have to write as much, the dialogue doesn't have to be as complex, and yet you're basically broadening out these entire scenes within a comic book. Do you feel as though that's a lot easier as far as like telling the artist exactly what you want, because you don't have to even create dialogue for a specific panel? You're more so just like creating a storyline, like this part is a speaking part. Turn and
Yeah.
I know you have a thing about page turners as well. Like you've talked about that as well. To where it's
Yeah.
like to where it's like you have specific panels that will create exactly what you're talking about without actually speaking on it.
Well, the thing is, I think. Well, here's what I would say about the medium of movies versus the medium of comics. In a movie, like we're in these banshees of Inisherin, the dialogue is a spectacle. The dialogue is the thing we're here for. That movie is like 80% talking, right?
Yeah.
And then a comic book, it's way less. The dialogue takes up literal real estate. But here's what I will say is that dialogue, like good dialogue, isn't necessarily long-winded. I would argue that a lot of times being brief is actually better dialogue. Like you
Yeah.
less is more. You can have a monologue or what have you, but if you look at like an Aaron Sorkin or a Tarantino or a Martin McDonald, I think his name is, it's a lot of strikes, a lot of jabs.
Hmm.
Um, as opposed to when you read a comic book, a lot of times it's like really long and there's like a lot of the big speech bubbles. So I think they have it the opposite. I think they have it switched. Like I think it's the wrong approach, but it takes a lot of skill to be able to write like that, to write briefly. And so I understand it. I just and there's so many different aspects to comic books. It's not expected, right? Like that's not what people read comics for. I feel like I don't think people read comics for the dialogue as well. So why I understand not really putting an emphasis on it, as well, because it's the medium. The medium makes it harder to exist anyway, or it's disadvantageous to have a lot of dialogue anyway.
Yeah. And you can even find that in like real life conversations. Because if you find that somebody is like having an argument with you, and you find them as to being really short in their replies,
Yeah,
and yet you leave that conversation, you're like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, nah, bro, emphasize on that more. Like, what exactly were you talking about? So when
yeah. What do
somebody's
we?
like
Yeah, what are we
being
doing?
really short with you, the thing is when that's like brought out either in comic book form or in screenwriting or anything like that, it tends to make the audience want to see exactly what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes, or better yet, even turn a few more pages in. Because if you're being short with that character or anything like that, you're going to want to know exactly what they were thinking in that moment and then go forth.
That is, yeah, no, I love the way you put that. That is genius. You're describing subtext
Yeah.
essentially. And I think that's the thing that people, when you're a kid, you're writing, you just don't understand. You don't understand subtext when you're like a little kid,
Mhm.
because or like even a young adult. Um, it's that mastery of subtext. This thing of saying it without saying it, and I love a good balance. I love of like 90% subtext, and then just every once in a while you like hit them in the mouth with just the
Mhm.
the the blanket, you know, that not unlike we talked about when he's talking about the glass half full, half empty, where he's like my life sucks, the perception doesn't matter. It's like that's not subtext. He's just saying what he feels. So it's about that balance, but you need to have the balance.
For sure, for sure. Now, as far as Intrusive Thoughts? Like, exactly where do you feel as though you want to go with this story as opposed to where you went with Decay?
Honestly, I just wanted this to take me further, right? I mean, I love the K. I think it's a phenomenal book. I think it's gonna be a phenomenal series. But I have more resources now. I'm a better creator. I'm working with a more experienced artist. I want this to become like a hit. I want this to have critical acclaim. I want this to pop, and I think it will. And I think it will. I think my profile is gonna raise. Oh man, I think I sold like 80 copies of this at a con one day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was pushing it really hard. I was pushing it really, really hard because I just printed it.
Good.
But yeah, no. So I mean, that's what I want. I want this to be like a big indie series. I want this to be like a Destiny New York or a White Ash. I don't think I'll get there on this series, right? But if that's what you aim high and then you fall short, you're still in a good place.
Yeah, and being as how, like, of course, after the pandemic, you had the opportunity to do a few cons, and have seen that
A
balance
dozen
between your
cons.
a dozen cons. So basically, from your first con to the cons that you've done recently, to
Yeah,
where you've got that chance to be political, hey, shake hands, kiss babies, and everything like that, doing your pitches, and so on and so forth. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So, like, how
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how has that benefited the story going forth?
Man, no, it's been brilliant because because in screenwriting is a very lonely profession.
Mm-hmm.
Like while I don't love everything, screenwriting is like the opposite of indie comics, where everybody's an asshole because they're it's a huge barrier of entry. It's an almost impossible barrier of entry. You know what I'm saying? Whereas comics, you not every pop and comic has amazing art. Not every but you if you have a personality, you click with the audience, you can blow up. You can be one of the top 10% of comic creators.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I don't get. I was like, what's with all the doom and gloom? Like we can do this. This is doable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sorry. What was your question? Go with the question again. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no. I was
What have
basically,
I learned from doing
yeah. What
cons?
have you learned from con 1 to con 12?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, my first con table was terrible. My most recent one was good. It's what did I learn specifically? So just being around other creators, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what my point. That's why I brought up screenwriting. Screenwriting is lonely because one, it takes way longer to write a script. It takes way longer to read a script. It's more pages than to read a comic. You can read a comic book in 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Yes, you can.
So it's harder to get feedback, right? Now the person has gone through all the effort. They're going to they're going to give you their opinion. So it's more detailed feedback, which is could be good if it's constructive feedback. Um, I feel as though now I'm in a community where I have a massive net. I've amassed a very big network, which I'm super proud of. A community, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to Baltimore, I had a conversation with an artist, I had a conversation with an editor, and I had a conversation with a colorist.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave them the editor and my colorist the comic book, and they I was wanting them to be like, oh man, this is the shit, but they didn't. They gave me they critiqued it, and while I was like, I'm not gonna say disappointed, I'm paying attention. I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, you right. But
Mm-hmm.
also in my head, I'm like, I made something that was worth critiquing. Like I made something that was like to them worth mentioning or sitting down and going through. So that was a nice feeling, as well. And then I talked to this artist who just had a brilliant understanding of just the medium and like manga versus comics and stuff like that. They just had, I was like, damn, just being around these. And I talked to Pat Shan. I hung out with Pat Shan all weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shouts out to Pat Shan. I hung out with him. Yo, we gotta get you guys connected. Oh yeah, you would love. Have you talked to Pat Shan?
I have not.
Yeah, we gotta get you guys linked up. So I'm talking to him. I'm talking to Kevin Cuff as well. Who did, oh my god, I can't get lit or die trying. Oh my Shark Bros, Metal Shark Bro as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to these guys, I'm picking these guys' brain. And so being in that environment, it just wants you to get better, because like I want these guys to I want somebody to look at me like I look at them, like as like this guy has an understanding. While I do think I have a really good understanding of like say dialogue or marketing or networking. I want to have that knowledge for the art of making a comic book. While that stuff is important for making comic books, but like the actual like technique of making a comic book as well. So that was a huge motivator.
Do you feel as though some of that motivation is now basically taking fold and you pushing your personality into content creation on YouTube, or how you've been doing now with Super Comic Bros over there with our good friend Chris Moses?
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Chris. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I just want to use every tool I have in my disposal. I've been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate. My family is just they're crazy, man. They're so funny. There's so much charisma just dripping out of this the and the family tree. So I'm really just been granted really blessed to be around like really good people. So I feel like I got some of that charisma and I might as well use it, right? Like some of the comments I've gotten was like, Stokes, people are talking about your personality, not your comics. It's the same thing. Like to me, it's the same thing, right? It's not literally the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's better. It's easy. It's easier to talk about a person in a comic book. It's easier to make a tweet pop off than to make a comic book. Why are we knocking somebody for basically? I'm like the modern Twitter. I'm like the modern comic book artist or comic book
Mm-hmm.
creator.
Yeah.
Basically, so like I grew up in the content creation era. So why not? I mean, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But why knock me? Because I looked at look. I'll be honest. I'm gonna be the most honest I've ever been. And I came in here in January and I saw everybody was crying about how bad how they weren't where they want to be at. There's so few people that want to be where they be at. I was like, man, I want to skip some of these steps. Y'all gonna know about me. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
raise my profile and like look at me now. Like it's
Right.
if you say like I feel like you could, hey, that's Stokes or Stokes the writer. People would know what that is that haven't read my comic book.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that a year ago. Like that's an objectively good thing. Like
Yeah. It's basically just keeping your name in anybody's minds. It's kind of like Rob Liefeld type of deal. Like people know him for his creations of X-Force and Deadpool and everything like that, and how bad that he draws feet and how big that he makes the chest. But guess what? When he's on Twitter, motherfuckers respond to everything that he says, regardless of
yeah, I
what
mean
he's
you look,
saying.
we are in a post. My Chris McCall said post viral. It's like you look at artists like Doja Cat and Lil Nas X.
Mm-hmm.
Like they basically so Doja Cat got a career off of memes, and Lil Nas X has sustained a career. He made the most popular song of all time, and then maintained that popularity by trolling essentially. Like
Pretty much.
that's basically what he's done. Shouts out to him. So it's like you just it's like comics is like the comics is like 10 15 years behind, bro. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand why if
Mm-hmm.
you want to sit here and just like try to sell comics the same way other people are doing it, that the other 10,000 people on Twitter are doing it, you go crazy, bro. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not trying to be I like I said, I feel like I've hit a lot of platitudes that I did because I'm willing to put myself out there and stuff like that.
Do you feel as though a lot of people are more so looking at it as an art form and do not want to look at it as a personality contest?
I mean, yeah, but that's their loss. So, you know what I'm saying? Or keep that mentality over there by y'all. Because here's the thing: is I make really good comic books. Like I'm a very good writer, very very good writer. So I had the best of both. You know what I'm saying? Like so to me it's just I like it's almost like I'm gonna just talk my shit and you're gonna check out my comic book to see if I'm legit or not, and then that's also part of the strategy as well, and it's worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked. um I mean, I understand, but that's just you can sit, you can be the most like you can be a failure with like extremely high morale, I guess, if that's what you want. Like I'm gonna do this thing that's incredibly inefficient. If you want, I'm taking the shortcut. Like I said, I don't
Got you.
I it make combo making is so hard. It takes so much time. Like I'm
It
spending so
does.
much time, and which is cool. I'm exhausted. I'm actually taking steps to like take care of myself. Actually, I dropped like 30 pounds, and just trying to get healthy because this is a very stressful lifestyle. This is not a like super healthy lifestyle. I'm not trying to grind for the next 5-10 years. Hell no. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, thank you. So that's also part of it. as well. Don't keep
So,
doing the same shit for 3 years, little no results. Go crazy. I'm not doing that.
bro, it's always good talking to you, man. For real. So, for one, Intrusive Thoughts is still live on Kickstarter. How many days we got left?
We got 21 days at the time of this recording.
21 days. So as of right now, we got a lot of time left to get this thing funded and get this thing in everybody's hands. How soon are we going to get it in everybody's hands once it's funded?
So it depends. I mean, it depends. I usually fulfill it pretty fast. Like
You
if
do.
you got the standard, if you got the standard um cover, I got those already printed out. Well, I'll
Mhm.
probably ship a bunch of those, like probably that week, and then the other covers, I'm gonna actually take a break after this campaign. So I think April, like within a month, I would say.
Dope. So Intrusive Thoughts, issue one, Anthony Stokes. I mean, he's basically here telling you in living color, man. Get the book. It's more so psychological than anything. But the thing is, it's intrusive on exactly how we should pinpoint how we discuss ourselves personality wise, how we see ourselves man to man, woman to woman, how we see it more so going forth. But I appreciate you doing this with me. It's been amazing as always.
Absolutely not. Thanks for having me. This is one I always look forward to coming on here, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. So from James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, Anthony Stokes with Intrusive Thoughts, and we are out.